What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. It's obviously game day. The Baltimore Ravens are taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're doing a bit of an early stream. I have to leave in like 30 to 45 minutes. So still wanted to get a stream going. We're going to have Maddox join us as well, as Steelers fan. But Joshua, it's game day. It's the best rivalry. We all agree in the NFL. How are you feeling waking up on a Sunday and watching the Ravens not at 8 p.m., not even at like 4 p.m., watching them at like 1 o'clock?
Man, it's been an ongoing battle this year for us to try to get more primetime games, right? Nevertheless, man, it's always good to watch Ravens football, especially with it being the AFC North rivalry game, maybe arguably one of the best rivalries in football history. Yeah, I'm going to say it. And anybody can argue me about that. You can't say you can't talk about a rivalry, with the Eagles and Cowboys, and the Eagles and Cowboys was a debacle last Sunday. So, I mean, the Eagles, they just pretty much got them out the way. There wasn't no real fight. When you talk about Ravens and Steelers, we put up a decent fight. We played a hard-fought game. Hell, sometimes this game, that Ravens and Steelers game has, been indicators of if the teams are going to get into the playoffs. They have played against each other in the playoffs. There's a lot of ups and downs history. But, now correct me if I'm wrong, McConnell, as far as Lamar Jackson's record versus the Steelers, is it a bit on the negative side?
Yeah, I believe it's 1-4.
Okay.
His one win is on the road in Pittsburgh, though.
Okay. I mean, but outside of that, man, it's exciting for us to get back out there. It's exciting for us to, try to build up the momentum. I feel like, this is one of the games that we truly need to get this W in order for us to stay at the top of the heap in the AFC North.
One of the things to look at how good this rivalry has been. Okay, hopefully we don't get any weird ads, right? Look at the final scores of these games. Obviously, don't look at the L part. That's look at the scores. 10-17, 10-17, 13-16, 16-14, 13-16, 19-20, 14-19, 24-28, 28-10. That's the only non-single digit game so far. That's 9 games ago. 26-23, 16-23, 26-14. We're going back to like 2018. Like, this is like rookie year Lamar. Lamar didn't even play in this game. This game was September in 2018. 38-39. Like, this is not only just a rivalry that's been good. Like, this is a rivalry that consistently produces, right? Because we have a lot of rivalries that people will argue and people will say, oh, this is the best rivalry in the NFL. And the reason they're saying that is because they're classic, right? They've been going on for 50, 75 years, right? Bears, Packers, Cowboys and Giants, or Cowboys and Eagles. Some people say one or the other, right? They've been going on for a while. The problem with those rivalries is half the time you put them on Sunday Night Football and they just suck. Like, we saw Cowboys, Eagles, right? And it's like, oh, they didn't have Dak Prescott. Half the games in the Steelers-Ravens rivalry these last 5 years, Lamar hasn't played. And they're still close. And when Lamar does play, it's still very close. Whenever Big Ben didn't play and it was Mike Vick or Josh Dobbs or Mason Rudolph, it was close. Like, that's the thing about this rivalry, is because it's so defensively oriented, it's so physically imposing, it consistently produces great matchups, right? And there is no other rivalry, that you get to see that from. Now, you can say some can maybe rival it, but you still get way more blowouts in like a Niners Seahawks. Like, those have had some very good games. Those are always very good primetime games. But sometimes, like today, there's a decent chance in that game, Christian McCaffrey goes for 3 touchdowns and the Niners win by 30. So it's like, with Ravens Steelers, you always feel like you're just going to get an absolute bloodbath, right? No matter who's fighting. Like, it doesn't matter. We just had some big UFC fights. We just had some big, I don't know if you call it big boxing fights, but some prominent boxing fights, I guess we could call it. But like, this is a rivalry that is exciting to watch. The reason why I think the NFL stopped putting it in prime time is because it's like too physical. I think the NFL is like, we don't want to push this. We'd much rather push Burrow versus Herbert because they're like, high scoring offenses. They don't want to see TJ Watt big hits. They don't want to see Roquan Smith trying to lay somebody out. The NFL loves to watch Lamar Jackson, but they don't want to watch Lamar Jackson in a super physical game for some reason, which is funny because it's like we added Derrick Henry. Like that's going to make Derrick Henry makes this rivalry much better because now we have someone physical. We have someone right on each side of the ball. George Pickens for the Steelers and obviously Derrick Henry for the Ravens, just an offensive player that is going to try and start some trouble. And I'm excited to watch it happen. And we got Kyle Hamilton, it looks like, back today, which is insane because I'm not gonna lie, I thought he tore his ACL last week. I was like, I saw him go down, and that's happened, Joshua. I think that's happened like 3 or 4 times in his career where he's gone down non-contact, and it's like, oh, he's done, like he's out for the year, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's out for like a couple days or like a week. Shout out to Kyle Hamilton, knocking on wood, but like he's been.
Nah, man, absolutely. I mean, I love the fact that you brought up that we got Derrick Henry. I'm not going to say he is a Derrick Henry stopper, but unfortunately, the Steelers do have somebody that does have enough heart and enough crazy to go after Derrick Henry. And when he was a black or purple uniform, and he did it for us against Derrick Henry when Derrick Henry was a Tennessee Titan, we all loved it. So I mean, Deshaun Elliott is going to try to look to get another, make Derrick Henry catch his breath again type of moment, especially with this being a rivalry game as well. I hear Mr. Queen talking about he hasn't spoken to anyone since from the Ravens since the offseason, the signing. I mean, hey, from a player standpoint, I can understand, a guy being upset. You got drafted here. You felt like you put your time and effort. You gave it your all, and you kind of felt like you didn't get your full justice or full service in regards of the contract negotiation things that happen. That's part of the business, unfortunately. So I mean, hey, right now, I guess he's going to try to be locked in, but a lot of his mistakes are getting exposed out up there in Pittsburgh. So I mean, I don't see him just having a immediate sound game against this Ravens team. I mean, yes, he's very physical. He is a very quick guy, but as far as deciphering the offense or calling the whole defense, that's not his strong suit. I am looking forward to the TJ Watt versus Rosengarten matchup. I mean, it's going to be a battle test for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing the Nate Wiggins versus NFL young boy. That's going to be funny. That's going to be interesting because you now have somebody on the outside, if they continue just to let the young man play, that's willing to be as physical and aggressive with a wide receiver, just like George Pickens. So, I mean, we do, in my opinion, we got the matchups. I mean, hell, you even got Deontay Johnson. I'm not saying, he is this big upgrade, but he was a former Steeler. He is going to be looking to, get some get back too in a Ravens uniform. So it's Arthur Millette. I'm getting a lot of players.
I think Millette is out, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, long as, the guys that are going to be able to play, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, man. I love to see, us going to battle. I love to see these guys going to war. I'm just, as I'm seeing Lamar Jackson as a QB, as the maturing QB that he's constantly becoming, I just wanted to let this game come to him. Sometimes when he has played against the Steelers in the past, it's like between the OC and between the play calling, he didn't feel comfortable. I want to see if he still has the level of comfortability that he's been having these past 10 weeks. If he shows that level of confidence and comfortability throughout this game, I feel like we definitely win.
It also depends on Zachary Orr, right? Like defensively, I think the play calling has been fine. but some of the decisions, like Brandon Stevens one-on-one with Jamar Chase all the time, like those are the head scratchers, right? Like that's where you're like, dude, Brandon Stevens is like maybe the worst player to put on Jamar Chase. And Brandon Stevens is definitely the worst person to put on George Pickens because Brandon Stevens allows two things: any contested catch possible, and he will not make you pay. Like, he will not make you pay if you throw the ball up in the area. And what does any quarterback that is intelligent, which we got to give Russ his props, he's much more intelligent than a Kenny Pickett. He's much more intelligent than a Mason Rudolph. Like, he's a potential Hall of Fame quarterback. He knows George Pickens is almost always a mismatch. Like, you can throw it up to George Pickens against anybody, but you can especially throw it up to George Pickens if he's being guarded one-on-one by Brandon Stevens. I do not want to see Brandon Stevens just constantly on an island, right? Now, if you have safety help over the top, like, I guess that's fine. But even so, I'd much rather see Nate Wiggins on him. I'd much rather see Marlon Humphrey on him, just because the matchup, Marlon can play physical. Marlon has the, kind of the speed to, stay with him for the most part. But man, if we go out there and it's a Brandon Stevens, George Pickens battle, unfortunately, I don't have very much confidence in the Baltimore Ravens because Brandon Stevens, last year, Brandon Stevens, he was turning his head around. He was looking at the quarterback. He could play man. He could play zone. And this year, it's like he can't play anything. He has. It's like he has no idea what's happening anymore, and like it makes no sense. Like I don't understand it because last year was such a step up, right? Zone coverage, he's got eyes on the quarterback. He's backpedaling. And now in zone coverage, he just looks at the receiver and then he has no idea what's happening. And then someone throws to his zone and he's like, oh, what? Like, I don't know what happened to Brandon Stevens. But Brandon Stevens is at the point where it's borderline unplayable. So we better not put him on their best receiver because that will not go very well.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with you, man. I mean, at this point, when we look at him, it's like it's truly night and day with him now. Like you said, man, he actually had ball skills last year. I don't know if that came from the pressure that the front seven had in order to let the secondary have time in order to track the ball or whatever the case may be. Because I mean, it is a difference in this year's defense, not just with with the DC. Zach Orr, just because he was a former player for us, and he's been with the organization, and he knows what it means to be a Raven and play against the Steelers, he should definitely be in his bag today. I'm definitely hoping that this is the turnaround game where we see him truly elevate as a DC that we feel like we know he can become. So I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. Najee Harris. I don't know who's the other running back for the Steelers. I don't see them. Okay, I don't see them really, going off. Justin Metabike. I'm about to say Jadeveon Clowney. I guess you could say I miss him. Odafio Way, Kyle Van Noy, Tavius Robinson.
Jones is back.
There we go. Travis Jones. Those guys can, do what they do because I mean, these are the type of games where it's truly one in the trenches. These are the type of games where they try to, where these teams both rely on their running game heavily. But both teams do have a passing game. But I don't think neither one of us, as far as Tomlin or John Harbaugh, are going to go away from their philosophy of running the ball and trying to establish their dominance. And it just really takes, who wants it the most, who wants it, more. So, at this point, the Ravens, if they truly want to get back to the AFC Championship game and to, a Super Bowl, to compete for a Super Bowl, it starts today. It starts today with a convincing win. These are the type of games where you have to show them this is the type of weather. This is the type of half of the season where you show teams that you're not to be played with, because there have been a couple losses this year that could have been our wins. And I know this is a rivalry game, but this game has to be won in a convincing moment. So Don't rely on the refs because you ain't gonna get the calls you want. That's just
Yeah.
that's just that's just that's just that's just regular. That's regular degular for the Ravens play. Just go out there and play your game. Just go out there and play your game.
Yeah, and the Steelers are coming off their biggest win of the year. They took down the Commanders, who haven't played nearly as well as they did to start the year. Part of that has to do with their offensive coordinator, who sucks, Cliff Kingsbury. Mister runs out of plays literally every single year. Fantastic in September, okay in October, horrible in real football season. Like, man, that guy cannot. Their team falls off every year. We'll see. Hopefully the command, like, I don't mind the Commanders. Like, if they turn it around, like, I like Jaden Daniels. Like, it'd be cool if they turned it around, but like they gotta they gotta step up. But overall, like throughout the season, like they beat the Falcons week 1. Falcons were not playing very good football then, but like still like not a bad win. That's against a good team. They beat the Broncos. Bo Nix's second start. Again, not like a bad team. They beat the Chargers week 3. Chargers were struggling a lot at that point. They've turned it around since, but again, decent win. It's a decent team. They lost to the Colts. They lost to the Cowboys. This was the healthy Cowboys. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Jets. They beat the Giants, and they beat the Commanders. Before the season, I looked at their schedule, and I thought that they could be a 7-win team through the first 9 weeks. Like their schedule they have the most difficult end of season schedule I've ever seen for any team. Like it was unbelievable. And the thought process was because they could only start Justin Fields for half the year, they were going to start Russell Wilson the first 9 weeks of the year and then potentially switch to Justin Fields, see how he does, or start Justin Fields the first half, bench him for Russ, and then Russ struggles against the more difficult second half. Russ ended up getting hurt. They kind of waited, and then they put Russ in. Russ is playing very well. But you look at the rest of the season for the Steelers, it's unbelievably difficult. So they have the Ravens, then they have the Browns, then the Bengals, then the Browns, then the Eagles, then the Ravens, then the Chiefs, and then the Bengals. That's how they finish the year. That is physical AFC North football. And then when it's not the AFC North, you play an in-state rival in the Eagles, and then you play, the Chiefs, who are absolutely fantastic. And we've got someone special joining us. We've got Maddox. Maddox, local Steelers fan. How's it going, Maddox?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. I've been having trouble with my computer, so I'm on my phone. So let me know if it sounds weird.
Oh no, it sounds fine. The
You good.
phone works great. I've done plenty of phone stream.
Yeah, I'm trying to join on my computer. It says I don't have the right plugin for the mic, and I was like, I'm not downloading that. I'm just gonna join on my phone.
That works. Oh man. So Maddox, what do you think about this Ravens Steelers game? Like, what if you had like one thing to boil this game down to? What would you say?
Well, one thing probably line play, but I think in general this year feels a little bit different for both teams. Like I feel like you guys should totally expect to win this game, and I feel like as a Steeler fan, like we should kind of expect to win this game. Versus the last couple of years, we get lucky that Lamar's benched or Lamar's hurt or some weird Kenny Pickett fourth quarter magic pulled out of his ass. It's just this year we got two good teams. Which I mean, when was the last time we could say that? 2017, 2016?
It might be like 2012.
I know.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since both these teams have been this good. And honestly, outside of O-line play, for the Ravens, can Lamar play at the MVP level? And for the Steelers, can Russ keep cooking,
Yeah.
Got to let him cook.
Yeah, I hate that the Steelers got Russell Wilson, mostly because I hate Russell Wilson. And then of course it's the Steelers.
Honestly, most Steelers fans hated Russell Wilson about a month ago. So, it's changed quite a bit. I was in Pittsburgh for the Monday night game, and you could feel like everyone in the stadium was just waiting for him to make one mistake so they could start booing him to put in Justin Fields. And he made like no mistake till the fourth quarter when he fumbled. And like even then people were booing when he fumbled. So I mean, I think people were like itching to get him benched.
And Russ is, for some reason, the first quarterback. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this is the one negative about Mike Tomlin, but like Russ feels like the first quarterback that realized like he has a cheat code. He is George Pickens. Like, I don't know why quarterbacks were just like, I'm not going to throw it up to this guy, because it's like, dude, he comes down with like 70% of the time. I don't know what the exact number is, but dude,
It's
jump
like
ball situation, he catches it every time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then the Rams allow that every time. So like,
well, and you know, that's the thing is, I've figured that Humphrey was going to have a chance. I mean, he's probably the best corner Pickens has played so far this year, but if it's anything like Thursday Night Football, who knows who's going to be covering Pickens? You know, I mean, Humphrey's got the best chance.
I like my chances with my rookie Nate Wiggins. They let him play the whole game. If TJ Tampa wasn't on, I think he's still on IR. I would see about
low key though. He does push off a lot.
I mean, if it's in between the five, listen. So me as a coach, I tell my guys, whatever you can do within the 5, make it happen. Pickens has a hell of a reach. So if he can go here and reach out, get a corner off of him and run his route, I can't be mad at that. He uses level of aggression, and there's a corner, you just got to match it. I mean, you had to be almost like a Cortland Finnegan to what Andre Johnson was. You had to be a pest with those type of wide receivers. So, I mean, he can be a push-off artist all he wants. That's still part of the game.
Yeah,
he got physicality to match with it, though.
I think more so the comments for like when the sideline Jets catch, where he just like totally puts his hands on the corner and then wraps underneath him to catch the back shoulder. Like he gets squared up downfield too quite a bit, I feel like.
That's one of the things that frustrates me about NFL refs is they are like I think they're like overly aggressive to throw the flag for DPI. They're like, oh, I saw him, like his hand was on his shoulder. Like, I just dropped the flag. Oh my goodness. Offensive pass interference is the least consistent thing I've ever seen, because like you can call it almost every play, just like DPI. Like you could almost call OPI every play, but they call it like 1 out of 20 times, and DPI they call like 1 out of 3 times. Like you see a guy like Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins. These guys have made Hall of Fame careers off of like, oh, you throw that back shoulder and they just like throw their elbow into you, get space, and then come down with the catch. Like they don't call it. And that's one of those things that I still wish, for all teams' sake, they need to allow challenging penalties, because oh my God, or overturn like if you watch a touchdown play and you go, oh man, that guy got like the hold was like ridiculously bad. Like, you know, don't call anything ticky-tacky, but like if you see on a replay for touchdown that there was a crazy hold, you missed a face mask, you had a bad OPI, ineligible man downfield, whatever, like they should be able to drop the flag. I don't know why they
100%. Like, I think you should get like one unlimited, you can use it at any point in the game, challenge on a penalty, whether a no call or a call.
Yeah. Just throw the challenge and be like, dude, like this guy just got held.
Because that was the problem when they had that, where didn't they have like 2 years where you could challenge pass interference?
You could challenge pass interference, and the refs were so pissed that they just said, we're never going to overturn this. And it was like, no.
Well, the problem
it's better for the game if you get the call right than if you. I just watched Wisconsin lose to the damn Ducks because of the worst chop block call I've ever seen in my life on 3rd and 10. And I'm like, what are we doing? How is this happening?
It's totally rigged.
Like, and then like, especially when you see it happen for like some teams, you just see it happen more. And that's more because they have like crafty players and they know the rules. Like you see the Chiefs get away with a lot of stuff because, you know, it's a lot harder to call Travis Kelce for something or Patrick Mahomes for something. It's a lot easier to call, you know, Joe Schmo backup tight end for, you know, the Carolina Panthers and be like, oh yeah, you pushed off, you held him. Like you don't want to go out there and make Travis Kelce boring to watch because all of a sudden, like Travis Kelce's not a big like PI guy, but like they just don't want to call it on the prominent players because they're good. Like you don't want to call it. Like I feel like I see way more push offs called on like random guys than the guys that push off way more.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm curious. How do you guys feel about kind of like? Because I know a little bit more in depth about Steelers depth pieces. How are you guys feeling about your depth pieces going into the game?
See, I
The
had to take a
problem is
deep
how
breath.
we use them.
Even thinking about it.
Like we've got a lot of players that I think have talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like I think we're set on the opposite side of the ball. Outside of like backup quarterback, but like knock on wood, we don't need that. Defensively, it's like they're good at things, but I feel like Zachary Orr doesn't have a full idea of how exactly to utilize that. Because it's like, oh, Tavius Robinson is good, but he'll all of a sudden put Tavius Robinson like in coverage, and you're like, no, this guy is like a pure defensive. They do not put him in coverage. Like this guy sucks at that. Like Kyle Van Noy. Kyle Van Noy is a fine passer, so he's a good vet. Stop putting him in the slot. Like I saw a play where he's on like Jamar Chase on like third down. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck are we doing right here? Like this, we cannot do that. So I think they have good depth.
It's just finding the way to use it.
Yeah, they just like they completely ignore the like strengths and weaknesses, or if it's like NBA 2K, like they don't look at their badges and like dude, this guy has posterizer. Stop chucking threes. Like get in the paint. I don't know. They just use everyone wrong.
Yeah. And I mean, that was my biggest problem with Tomlin for so long is you'd pull up, Sunday Night Football versus the Patriots when Brady was there, and you've got like a third string slot corner covering Gronkowski, and he just runs over the middle of the field, and it's like I would have saw that, And I think we cleaned that up, but I don't know Orr's background. Where did he come in from?
So Orr was an all-pro linebacker for the Ravens, but he only played 3 years. He was an undrafted player, was an all-pro within 3 years, and then had a neck injury and had to retire.
Oh, shit.
And so he got hired by the Ravens like 2 or 3 years ago as a linebackers coach just to bring him back in the building.
Oh, so he's an in-house player.
Yeah, so he literally has only played for the Ravens, but his career ended because of a neck injury. But he was a good will linebacker back.
I think he went to college in North Texas too.
Yeah, okay. He's a grinder. Like he's a football guy, but he's never called a defense. He's super young. He's new to coaching. Like he only played in the league for like 3 years. Like it's not like this is a guy that like it's one thing if you hire D'Amico Ryans to be your DC, but like Zachary Orr's been coaching for 3 years. He was in the league for a couple of years.
But see but you know what? That's the crazy thing about it, though. Yeah, I would love for him to have been, almost close to Hall of Fame and played 7-8 years. But just being around that knowledge, I mean, he was in a facility with a Ray Lewis, things of that nature. It is a tall task to ask a player to become a coach. I'm learning that from my own experience. I'm coaching high school, and I even had to go to my defensive coordinator. I say, listen, me learning these plays as a coach from a player's perspective, it's hard as hell. It's hard as hell, but I got through my first year. I mean, right now, it's tough. It's tough because you got to show him some type of level of grace because, I mean, if John Harbaugh isn't moved, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to be moved. So it's like, you got to pick your poison. Even though Mike McDonald, I don't know all of his history. But that's another one that's been around the game, and he's been able to make things happen on a collegiate level to prove himself. Came back on the NFL level, had a little rough year the first year, but came back his following year. Now he's a head coach. So I mean, could we have done the same thing for Zach? By all means, you could have placed him in somebody's college program to see what he could have done. But I think
they
the timetable
lost every positional coach on defense.
I was about to say that
D-line, they lost their secondary, and then they lost their linebackers coach because he got promoted. So it's like everyone's brand new.
Yeah, I would have took Anthony Weather. I would have took him as a DC. I feel like he would have done well.
And he's the DC over in Miami right now, which I mean Miami just sucks. Like I don't know. I don't even know if that's on him. Like
Wasn't Vic Fangio available too?
Yeah, Fangio. Like there were a lot of guys that were available. And the Eagles got Patricia, I want to say.
Ooh.
But like the only thing the Ravens could have done that was like just fire Harbaugh and promote McDonald. Like it's very clear that was the best option.
I think we was on board for that one, McConnell. I think we was pushing for that one all summer. To be completely honest,
that for years.
I think the Steelers and Ravens organizations operate in the same way that they're just gonna stick with their head coach unless they're like 4-13, and they're gonna just stick with them. And same with their coordinators. I feel like Steelers too oftentimes will always promote in house and figure out who the next guy is from their own coaching tree and not let them go. And I don't know. I think that's part of the reason why Ravens and Steelers both have such great regular season success. I mean, for us, 9-8, I don't know if I'd call that successful. But we're always in it because of internal culture of we're gonna promote our guys. I mean, Mike Tomlin was like a assistant for us, or he wasn't an assistant for us, but he worked his way up through the system, made great connections. And I think at the time people were shocked that we hired out of house. So it's that's kind of I think how both organizations operate.
Yeah, and then we get the battle of Greg Roman versus Matt Canada for like 3 years too many. We're like, dang, both of our organizations, great drafters, great developers, but like, man, like their coaching trees are not good. Like if they had coaching trees, if they knew how to hire good coaches, oh my gosh, they'd be so good. But instead, they're just like, and the problem with the rivalry is Tomlin's just like a slightly better coach than Harbaugh. And so every time it comes down to that, you're like, shit, Tomlin's going to outcoach Harbaugh again. And we've seen it every time. It's just like, oh, down the stretch, like the Ravens make 3 penalties on one drive. And you're like, Ravens just lost.
But I mean,
I don't know if Tomlin coached in the George Pickens fade game. That was Kenny Pickett outcoaching and audible and pissing off Matt Canada, dead face, pissed off that they just won a game.
That was hilarious. And I saw that play and I was like, it's over. Like I'm like, he doesn't drop those. Like he's just gonna be open.
But I think the thing that really separates Tomlin versus Harbaugh, I think Harbaugh relies more on the analytics side of the game. And now Maddox, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Tomlin more of an excellent old type of guy. I think both of them can be motivational type of coaches. But I think your guys rally around Tomlin more, and he doesn't have to go in the most totalitarian ways or tyrant ways to demand respect in the locker room versus our guy, Jim's brother, putting guys in the doghouse, always delecting to Lamar if he wants to go for it on fourth. I mean, granted, sometimes it works out for us, but at one point you do still have one of the best kickers in the league. Let's go get the 3 points. So I think for us, and when you hear him in the post game interviews, man, when I look at the analytics, when I look at the PFFs, I mean, I thought we was good. No, it wasn't good. Just go out there. Just coach regular football.
That's the thing I appreciate about Tomlin too, is because he does his research. He does buy into somewhat of the analytics, but at the end of the day, I mean, dude just goes with what he's feeling, and he's got balls of steel. I mean, who in their right mind would have benched Justin for Russ? And that was his sole decision. He ate that, and I mean, dude's got balls, and I feel like oftentimes the main criticism of him when we go 9-8 every year is he costs us a game or two because he wants to get fancy, but I mean he sticks with it, and I think the whole locker room really believes in Tomlin. I mean, you kind of have to, and then you bring in a guy like Russ, and their personalities just, I don't know, kind of feels like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, and I got to go in a couple of minutes, so I think we can wrap up with some bold predictions if we want. Which, Max, if you don't know, offensive bold prediction, defensive bold prediction. We always start with the defense. Joshua, do you want to start us off?
Defensive side of the ball. Man, listen, I feel like we're gonna have to go ahead and get Russell Wilson's number and have to get Justin Fields in the game immediately. I see us getting two strip sacks, also with 2 interceptions. I think it's going to be that type of game today.
I love it. These are bold, Maddox. These are bold predictions.
Unlimited turnovers.
Unlimited turnovers.
Okay, so I think for my side, I'd be remiss if I didn't pick a Steelers bold take, but I'm gonna go Beanie Bishop 2 interceptions to keep up the hot streak.
Okay. I'm gonna say that Roquan takes someone out of the game. I feel like we haven't seen one. Like I don't want to see it happen, but like I feel like that might happen. And then offensive side of the ball, I'm gonna say that we get another big play out of Tylan Wallace. Who, Maddox, I know you're a fan. I know you like Tylan Wallace.
There were like 3 draft moments, just side note. 3 draft moments where I was like, what the fuck? Like, why are we passing on this guy? One of them was the Lamar draft. We drafted Terrell Edmonds. And I'm sitting there like screaming at my TV like the guy in Interstellar when he's banging on the glass. And I'm like, how did you watch 4 years of Lamar Jackson in college and you just took Terrell Edmonds over him? The other one was the J.K. Dobbins pick, which, I mean, he was a great player, just injured all the time. And the other one was Tylan Wallace. I was so pissed we didn't take Tylan Wallace. And when I saw that he was a Raven, I was like, are you kidding me? But for my offensive prediction, I'm going to go George Pickens, $150 and 2 touchdowns.
You know, that'd be a win for the Ravens, I think. Honestly, I'm expecting a little more out of George Pickens.
Okay. Bold prediction for me. This is Derrick Henry's debut in the Ravens Steelers matchup. Also, I know he want to get some get back on Deshaun Elliott. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go with 350 rushing yards, 2 tutties from Derrick Henry, and I got Keaton Mitchell getting that other 100. So I got Derrick Henry put up 250, and Keaton Mitchell going for 100. I'm sorry. It's bold.
If you get 450 rushing yards on us, I will send both of you $100 because that would be a freaking miracle.
That would be so. Max is watching the game and he's like, "Oh my god, Derrick Henry's gonna do it. He's broken 4 runs."
No, that's the guy I'm scared of. I think in this game, like if I'm scared of anybody, I mean, I'm terrified of Derrick Henry.
Oh my gosh, that would be Derrick Henry's career high. I think it's like 260. We're shattering that. It's the NFL record right there. All right. Any let's do score predictions as well. I'll start. My score prediction, I'm gonna say 25-22. Just in the most unorthodox. I always got to pick an unorthodox score for Ravens Steelers because it's never a realistic score.
True.
I'm gonna say this game is gonna go pretty similar to last week for us with the Commanders. I'm gonna go 28-27.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say around the same.
I think whoever wins 28-27.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say around the same ballpark. I'm gonna say 28-17 though. I feel like if the Ravens can control time of possession, keep the foot on the gas, all gas, no with no breaks, and don't let up. Yeah, I'm not gonna say Steelers not going to get touchdowns, but I feel like if we actually stay true to our identity, run the ball effectively, we can win this game 28-17.
All right. Well, Maddox, it was great having you on. Everybody, thank y'all so much for coming through. Obviously, we got an hour till game time, but hopefully hopefully next time we see you guys, the Ravens are at 8 wins. But if not, I'm gonna be fighting. I'm gonna be fighting brother Jim. So watch out. It'll probably be his fault. But guys, thank you so much. I'll see you again next time.
Good luck, guys.
Right now.